Everybody, this is Kyle. I just got through filming setup here. What I hope turns out to be the video for Color Hearts, the studio version of this song. So what I'm going to talk about in this video is kind of the genesis of this song, but then how after I wrote it, I realized it could mean different things to different people. Because to me, I find it interesting, like someone could read a book, look at a painting, listen to a song, and have a very, very different reaction than someone else, and then maybe than what the author or the creator had intended. That's kind of how this song happens to come across. Bruh, I'm so high budget here with my felt and ankle weights to hold this up. Dude, it's like I'm wearing my shirt in my head. Hold on. Let me know what you think of The Killers, Cavetown, and Penelope Scott, where you think this video is going to go. So let me get started talking about two of those three artists I mentioned and kind of go in reverse order here. So being a public school teacher after COVID is very different because people are very open with things that they're into, their lifestyle choices and things like that. I mean, kind of famously so. And I'm not trying to get into that in this video necessarily. As a teacher, you're going to have students that, are very open about who they are, and good for them to feel that confident. And also, how awesome is it that people can be in a world where they're saying, hey, I don't have to hide who I am. I don't have to hide things about myself out of fear. And to me, that's a pretty awesome thing. But like I said, all that stuff is a whole other topic, and I'm sure other people could cover it much better than I ever could. I had some students tell me about some music they were into, and they mentioned Cavetown and Penelope Scott. And when I listened to these artists, I thought, well, hey, this is kind of neat because there's some guitar, there's some electro kind of sounds. It got me thinking about the song I had been working on. I had written Color Hearts, I guess the summer of 2021, and I wrote it thinking about how people, are communicating online. I write a lot of love songs because, I'm a, songwriter. That's kind of, that's kind of our go-to, for better or for worse. But I was thinking about distance relationship. And that's essentially the idea behind Color Hearts at first, how people text things will use different hearts to mean different things. But then I started to think about, how the nature of relationships and how people communicate to begin those relationships, how that has changed, and how, rainbows, colored hearts, and things have a whole lot more meaning than they used to. I started to think about the song and how it might change, which leads me to the band The Killers. So in the early 2000s, I was doing some electronic music. I wasn't terribly interested in guitar music. And then for a while, I tried to do some other things that was not musical related at all. It was software related because I am a big old nerd. So a lot of music from around 2001 to maybe 2006 or so, maybe 7, I didn't really listen a whole lot to. I would listen to, trying to think, still thinking. Some electronic station. It used to be on Sirius satellite radio. DJ Icy had a show on there, Automatic Static. Grandmaster Flash had a show on there, which that was super dope to hear him spin tunes and talk about different things. Now that's when the Killers were coming out and doing their thing and making a name. And apparently the Killers' story is, as they were coming out, they were kind of like a sleeper band, that it took them a few years to have some big hits and have some big successes. So songs like Mr. Brightside and Somebody Told Me, I didn't really start listening or getting into till honestly maybe about 5 years ago or so. I'm going to focus on the song Somebody Told Me by The Killers. Now there's a lot of information about what this song really means, but when you start to look at it, you wonder, it's like, well, is this about a relationship? And if so, with who or with what? Now, apparently it's about, a relationship with music and just being frustrated with the game of trying to, get your band out there, working under a record deal and things like that. Now, I don't really know. I haven't done research. If you happen to know, if you are totally digging on The Killers, please let me know in the comments. Inform me, because that's something I'm not informed about. But that's not what this video is about, except for how the chorus of that song could be construed as a different type of romance. So the words go something like, somebody told me you had a boyfriend that looked like a girlfriend that I had in February of last year, and so on. And this idea of, gender fluidity and identity and things like that, as I started to think more about some of this music my students had, pointed out to me, and the sounds, and I was thinking about color hearts and what that could possibly mean. I was like, someone could take color hearts and make it about, something for Pride Month. So as I thought some more about the possible interpretation of the chorus of that killer song and some of this music I'd been, tuned into, I thought, this could be a cool combination. So I sought out making this kind of electro 8-bit lo-fi kind of vibe, following the chords that I wrote on guitar. What I did is I used an app with an 8-bit synthesizer, a bunch of nerdy stuff, but I put that into a sampler into my studio program so I could change the pitch, make it like different chords. Like I said, I was trying to mimic the chord progressions, the chord changes in a song as I wrote it on guitar. So the studio version pretty much goes along those lines. Now, originally I had different drums. I was trying to really embrace this lo-fi vibe, and I did not like it. It was not strong. I don't know if I just wasn't producing it well, which is probably the cause, to be honest with you. But I decided, after not liking it for a couple months, I was like, okay, I'm just going to remove all the drums and try something else. And that's what I did. And I kind of mixed in the original drums just a little bit. It's kind of like a top drum section. I added it with different kick and snare, and the drums were really clean and crisp. And that was a sound that I liked. So I went forward with that. And then when I recorded the acoustic version, I tapped into some of that music that my students had told me about. Actually, to me, in a way, it kind of has a Dire Straits vibe, the way it starts with the guitar, a little jam, the way the guitar fills work. Both versions of the song had their own energy, and I thought that that was pretty cool. And to me, someone trying to make music that other people might possibly like, to me, this checked a few boxes, so there it is. Thanks for hanging out with me in this video. Videos like this are largely Patreon supported. So when people sign up on my Patreon, that money goes toward me doing monthly releases and the videos and things that I do on here. And I keep looking at how my YouTube videos are doing, and I'm considering some big changes. So, it's probably not something I'm necessarily going to announce. You'll just notice like, hey, there is this situation going on in Kyle's videos, but that is the reasoning why.